The story of a local church reveals the growth and progression of a people. Explosive growth are the two words that best describe a dynamic, emerging people called Union Baptist Church within a rapidly evolving township called Montclair. The epicenter of Montclair's turning point was the game-changing construction of railroads, stimulating exponential growth from 2,000 residents in 1857 to 4,000 residents in 1876 to 7,000 residents in 1890. There were no statewide or national corporate entities to provide infrastructure, so Montclair citizens, they rolled up their sleeves and worked together to build systems and structures and services to support the daily functioning of a growing population. They organized fire companies, water company, a gas company. Sewers were installed and dirt roads were paved, and sidewalks were originally made of wood but later flagstone, later became popular. With the presence of railroads, Montclair was transformed from a farming community and an agricultural region to a vibrant, wealthy suburb of New York and a desired destination for people near and far. At the same time, in the late 1860s, post-Emancipation Proclamation, and in those Reconstruction years, 36 black people came to Montclair to work in private households, seeking employment, looking for higher wages and educational opportunities. Their passionate pursuits were the motivation behind waves of black people relocating from the South to the North in what became known as the Great Migration. Because of black excellence, the services of these highly sought after domestic workers were in great demand, so that by 1886, the number of black citizens in Montclair increased from 38 in 1860s to 500 in 1870s, and by the turn of the century, 1,600 black people called Montclair their home. Montclair's black community drew primarily from two specific Virginia estates, the Oakley and the Wellborn plantations. Their arrival in Montclair from Virginia and North Carolina exposed them to a way of life free of the daily strictures and indignities of Jim Crow segregation in the South. Their new environment may have sparked a flame within freshly minted black Montclairians, believing that social change and a just and equitable world was possible. In the context of Montclair's growing and thriving community, Union Baptist Church found its origin and identity in the 1880s as a people of mission and ministry who traveled from home to home and hall to hall and chapel to church, all to fulfill God's calling to create space for persons that were broken and tired and weary to experience God and receive healing and well-being and wholeness in the house of the Lord. Union Baptist Church was called First Baptist Church. It was indeed the first black Baptist church in Montclair. It was founded in 1887, just 19 years after the township of Montclair was incorporated on April 15, 1868. The explosive growth of Union was fanned into flames by a fiery visionary, ambitious, and determined people committed to create open spaces to meet spiritual and economic and social needs of black people in a time with Jim Crow segregation laws, closed spaces, and communicated that black people were not full citizens in this democracy. For centuries, the black church has been at the center of black progress. And as Union Baptist Church in Montclair was formed and organized, it richly contributed to the growth of the people in the township of Montclair and widening black community. As Montclair expanded and the number of black people increased, Union Baptist Church grew by leaps and bounds, making necessary a suitable place of worship to accommodate its significant growth. The first meeting was held in the home of Edward Platter at the corner of Bloomfield Avenue and Orange Road. Union's growth movement found residence in its halls. Union's first chapel was set up in Wright's Hall over what was the site of Reader's Drug Store. After 2 years at this site, further expansion was necessary, and these early worshipers moved to Jacobus Hall and Watchung Hall until 1890, and then to Morris Hall. It took great courage and vision to transcend imposed limitations, to be a bold and confident people, turning their dreams that were in their hearts into realities lived out by its people. With a small group of Union members, a lot was purchased in 1889 on Bloomfield Avenue and St. Luke's Place, which was sold, and soon another lot was purchased on Portland Place. The original sanctuary of Union was a frame building with seating capacity of 500 persons. In that space, there were reading rooms and a Sunday school room and one of the finest organs in any Montclair church. The cost of the building was $7,000, and the total cost of the property was about $20,000. The Reverend Jack Harris served as Union's spiritual leader and organizer from 1887 to 1889. The Reverend William Perry was then called to be Union's first senior pastor on July 26, 1889, and he led the congregation for 10 years.
The Reverend John Love succeeded Reverend Perry, and for 47 years, from 1899 to 1946, he led Union Baptist Church to burn the mortgage in 1902. He and the congregation worked together to break ground in 1925 and built our current church edifice in 1926. And then Reverend Love led the church to also burn the mortgage again in 1943. He was a remarkable leader in a remarkable time.
Explosive growth was the prevailing theme of Union's beginnings. In 1889, there were 46 members. In 1894, the membership dramatically increased to 356. In the 1880s until 1902, when St. Paul Baptist Church was formed, there were only 2 black churches in Montclair. The oldest black congregation, St. Mark's Methodist Church, was founded in 1880, and Union Baptist Church was founded in 1887. Reverend Perry not only assumed leadership in Union Baptist Church, but also the township of Montclair was his parish. He encouraged persons to pursue pathways to generational wealth, as well as spiritual maturity, and owning property was the primary vehicle for economic empowerment. The amount of real estate owned by blacks is said to have increased from $4,000 in 1889 to $110,000 in 1894. This is explosive economic growth. I admire how black people were able to do so much with so little without excuse or complaint. They simply got it done. In Union's first decade of life and witness, the people of Union Baptist Church accomplished much. They initiated and organized a movement of determined black church folk who grew by the hundreds from home to home and hall to hall and chapel to chapel. And they prioritized worshiping God, who was in the center of their lives. They purchased multiple lots of land. They built and dedicated church buildings on their lots of land, and they created space to meet spiritual, social, and economic needs of its people. They paid the mortgage in full in 1902 and then did it again in 1943. They owned homes. They owned property. They were entrepreneurs and they established businesses. They pursued pathways toward generational wealth. This is our captivating story. This is our rich black history story that will not be relegated to February. This is our remarkable story of fresh starts and new beginnings in the first decade of Union Baptist Church life-changing global ministry. This is our "we can do all things through Jesus Christ who strengthens us" story. Let us receive our story with gratitude, with humility, with thanksgiving. Let us learn and tell our story with joy and pride. And let us add to this incredible story by living our lives worthy of our calling. Let the Amen sound from its people again. Gladly forever we adore thee. Let the Amen sound from its people again. Gladly forever we adore you, Lord.